Welcome to Soul Searching, the Soul Recruitment Podcast, where we tackle all sorts of great topics in the areas of recruitment, job searching, mindset, technology, marketing, culture, and lots more. It's amazing what you'll pick up. Thanks for joining me. Well, welcome back, everybody. Hope everybody's doing fantastically well. Darren Saul here, your host of Soul Searching, the Soul Recruitment Podcast. It's episode 42, and I have a great show today geared specifically to all the recruiters out there in the community. Belinda Kerr is here. How are you doing, Belinda?
Oh, I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Belinda is here to chat about how to scale your recruitment business and stand out in this market. So Belinda is the founder and director of Recruitment Garage. After almost 2 decades launching, growing and selling 2 of her own recruitment businesses, Belinda now works closely with recruitment and search agency owners across the globe to help them become standout successes in their markets. She helps them implement key growth strategies to drive their transformation into progressive and modern businesses. So welcome to the show, Belinda.
Thank you very much.
And I mean, I've obviously searched for you. I've read some of your content. I love what you're doing. I love, your message. I love how you are incorporating content and marketing into everything you do. But before we kind of get into the nitty gritty, I thought maybe let's have a little bit of a walk through your background. Tell us and tell the audience, your story, how you got into this field, why you're so passionate about what you're doing at the moment.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't think anyone leaves school and says, I want to be a recruitment consultant, do they? We all have this weird path to it. Years and years ago, I used to sell, when they were still doing print advertising, I used to sell recruitment advertising. And then after I did that for a while, just thought, I sort of thought about the industry. And anyway, got into the industry, worked for a couple of years, and then, like so many, followed the path of, I can do this myself. Naivety sometimes drives that step, doesn't it? Because if I knew now, they say if I knew now what I knew then, maybe things would be different. But yeah, I kicked off and a bit of good luck and hard work, got underway, built my first agency, and then was approached to sell that, and then sold another one. So that was probably, and then I started that 2001-ish, so going back quite a while. And then we all have life circumstances that change things, and I had 2 little girls and, a lot of other things to think about. And so I was in Sydney and went for a holiday to the Sunshine Coast and realised that that's where I wanted to live. And then planted the seed of, well, how can I make, what I already know work for me? So when I sold the second business, when enough people tell you should be doing something, you start to listen. So I said, you should be a coach, and then you should be a coach. So anyway, that led to me thinking about what's next. And so 4 years ago, the Recruitment Garage was launched. And really what I was aiming to do there and have done is take all those learnings that I had, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and help give people who are sort of following in those footsteps years later more of a framework and structure, so that not so much is learning as you go. There's something to lean into as they're growing their businesses. So that's how I've landed here. And it's just nice to be able to offer people something that makes them not so alone on that entrepreneurial journey, and can help them when they're wondering what to do to give them the confidence that what they are doing is right and is going to take them to where they want to go. Whereas I feel like a lot of the time, my journey, I was like, I probably should try this or I should try that. And that can suck up a lot of time and energy. So I'm trying to help them shortcut that process.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's so much to unpack there, but I mean, you've grown and sold 2 recruitment companies. That's incredible feat in itself.
Thank you. Well, they weren't massive. I'm not here saying that I grew a haze. They were both small businesses, which is fine because that's my sweet spot. I love the SME market and I love business at that level. So,
was that always your plan when you working in those? Did you always think I'm going to sell these one day, or it just happened?
No, I didn't have a plan. I left my job and went, here we go. My business plan was, if I don't have to go back and get another job, that's great.
It works.
And to be honest, that was it. It was basically working along. And it wasn't until I got a bit smarter about doing business and I realised that there was other people that could show me what to do, that I got mentors and coaching and learned a lot of things, that things started to take off for me. So my plan in the beginning was very naive. It was the typical, well, I'm earning this much money. If I went and started my own agency, I could have all that.
Yep.
That's what you're in business for a little while, you realize it doesn't quite follow that formula.
Yep.
It's a little bit different.
There's lots of extra admin along the way. Yep. And in that journey over those two agencies, when do you think you started to realize that I can see the formula here?
Yeah. It was definitely a few years in, because when you think, when I started in recruitment 20 years ago, marketing was almost flipped. Marketing was still important, but to a much lesser degree than when I started. It's like, and you as well probably, you here's your desk, get on the phone, get on the phone, phone people, and we all know now that that's kind of antiquated. And the phone is still a very good tool, but it's more for closing deals and speaking to people who are warm, as opposed to early on. And so when that switch started to happen with marketing was getting into the realms of being possible for smaller businesses. It was, smaller businesses could start to afford to do it. When you look at video marketing now, it costs nothing pretty much. Whereas, 15 years ago, imagine what it would cost you to do an online, video campaign, something like that. So it was definitely a few years in, but it was definitely when that marketing piece was taking over, and there was an opportunity to scale through that digital piece that was now much more accessible to smaller business than it was before.
Yeah. So obviously marketing was that light bulb.
Yes, pretty much.
Yeah. And it makes sense. I mean, because when we started, I've been recruiting for 20 years. And again, when we started, it was all phone based. It was all cold calling. It was all just go out there and sell, get deals, get exclusivity, et cetera, et cetera. Now it's become much more of a strategic game of marketing.
Yeah, that's right. And I think a lot of recruiters grapple with it too, recruitment agency owners, because they know it's important, but it's a whole ecosystem. It's not just going and putting out a blog or just going and putting out some social media. It's a thought through end-to-end process. And that's what, as a recruitment agency owner who's come from running a desk and running a really good desk to having their own business, a lot of that's hidden from their view. They know it's important, but just not quite sure how to piece it all together.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, and obviously it's no surprise that recruitment can be an extremely sweet industry or role, but it can also be very challenging. There's lots of roller coasters, there's lots of ups and downs, and you have to have the mental capacity and the mental mindset and the resilience to handle it.
Yeah.
But what have you learned over the years? I want to kind of dig into some of those marketing strategies and marketing insights that you've learned for what allows you to get a little bit more control out of what you do every day, rather than always be at the whims of the market and the whims of candidates, the whims of clients. Control, in inverted commas, is probably the right word.
It's such a good question. And, put your hands in the air if you're a recruiter that's never happened to. Like the roller coaster, everybody knows about the roller coaster. And it comes down to a few things. The first thing is, we're taught as recruiters to chase the money. We're taught to be doers, what's on your board this month, And wherever you focus your attention is where the results will be. But the problem is we have this kind of double-edged sword, don't we? It's not like most business where you just go out and you're closing business, but we've got that, and we've got two sides of the coin. So the first thing is focus. And I think what happens, particularly on the job-rich market like we're in now, is that people see money, and that's right. But what can often come with that is a lack of control, because you get so many jobs. So I think the first thing is working out what are the real jobs, and what are just, where are the partnerships? Where in those 20 jobs that you've just taken is the money really? Yep. And I'm probably speaking a little bit to, people know this, but it's interesting the guys that work with me, often will pick apart and look at the jobs that they've got, and half of them just shouldn't be there. And I think a lot of that comes from, and I hear this a lot from recruiters, we don't let the clients down, but I'm like, well, hang on a minute, you're working really hard for this client, but they've just given that to 5 other agencies. They've probably forgotten half the time that they've given you the job. Yeah. There's this mismatch there's a mismatch here in terms of the partnership equity. So I think first up is where, as I said, focus your attention on the right things. So first focusing your attention on the jobs that are going to, that you can fill. We're not a charity. We are all here to make money. And I think sometimes recruiters almost feel a bit guilty for that. It's like, well, no, you can't work on stuff that you're not going to fill.
Absolutely.
And we focus our attention where the squeaky wheel is, don't we? So if it's jobs at the moment, then we focus on that. And I think the other thing to do is, particularly in times like that, is look at where the bottlenecks are in your business. So when you've got lots of jobs on, what are you doing that's below your pay grade or outside your skill set that you can pass on? Now, there's so many options these days to do external talent sourcing. So some of those things, like a lot of people will be spending a lot of time looking for candidates right now. You can augment that with all sorts of resources, certainly tech, but also, the talent sourcing industry is exploding. There's larger companies, I understand, people like Michael Page are now using outsourced talent source functions. And the lovely thing is about those, particularly for smaller business, is that you're not tied to a resource that you may not be able to afford if the market turns again, or you may not want. And it's completely flexible in line with what you want. So I think a bit more strategically about what you can do in your business today that's going to help you drive more revenue without you just working harder and going crazy and just trying to catch everything as it comes in.
Hi guys, just a quick message. I'm always on the lookout for engineers in the managed services space across Australia, support engineers, systems engineers, network engineers, and solution consultants. I only work with the best companies that are going places, really value their staff, have great techs, and offer stacks of training and other benefits, up to $1,000 for successful referrals. Who do you know? Feel free to give me a buzz, 0414 659 800. But right now, back to the conversation.
There are a couple of things, and also testing strategies. So it's very easy to go along and just keep doing what we've always been doing. Put the jobs up on the job boards, reach out on LinkedIn, and just sort of hope and pray. But what other things can you do in your business? Email campaigns, all those sorts of things that you can start to do better and think about. But you don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You don't have to stop doing the other things, but test things. I feel a lot of the time recruiters don't test what works. They just kind of go and put the money into something and hope that it works. So other advice would be to test new strategies and new ways. And so if tech suppliers or other people are coming to you, test their product. Don't kind of go all in before you know if it's going to be a good idea or not. And really, if you're an owner, try to as much elevate yourself above the business and start to look at where you can replace those other functions. Because if they're not working on the two streams of business, like small business owners, small agency owners, they're always a technician as well to a certain point. They're always being a recruiter as well. But have that real line in the sand between, okay, today I'm working on the business and tomorrow I'm working in the business for these hours. Because if you don't, everything just gets one big muddly mess. And then
so time management and really a good understanding of your own energy levels and your own management is extremely important.
Absolutely. Yep. 100%.
And when you mentioned all those new tools, just to clarify for people, all those new candidate sourcing methods, were you talking about outsourcing to technical tools or outsourcing to other companies that actually provide that function personally?
I think it's both. It's both. And there's so much out there that you can get the right fit for your business. I think sometimes we need to flip the way people look at this, because often they'll look at the tech first and then how they bring that tech into their business or those people into their business. Think about what your business needs first and then start to look at the tech and the people. And it's funny, sometimes, I talk a lot about automation and strictly speaking, automation is I think when we talk about automation, we're talking about tech, aren't we? But I kind of lump it in with outsourced resources, because I don't care whether it's a person in the Philippines doing it or a piece of tech. If it gets the same result, does it, it's just semantics then, what automation is. So I think more, obviously tech's becoming the ROI on tech is increasing over time, and who knows what will happen with people. But when you look at the services, you can outsource anything to a company either in the Philippines or somewhere, somewhere in India, that will do everything from, CV formatting to, finding talent for you, to doing your bookwork, all that, creative executions. So sorry, that's a very long way of saying both.
Yeah, I mean, and I agree with you. Like, I always think of the word systems first.
Mm.
And then I think, okay, I need to systemize something. I can easily systemize it manually, or not manually, but personally. And then I just kind of rinse and repeat or cut and paste, or I can actually systemize it technically.
Yeah.
And it's really just about how much do I want to spend? How much time do I have? Where do I really think that return on investment will come?
Yeah, I think the thing to know is there's always going to be a person or a piece of tech to do what you want to do. And also a lot of the tech crosses over. You have one piece of tech here and it might do something that this other piece of tech uses. And it can be really challenging for agency owners to know which piece comes first, but it definitely starts with what you want to happen, and then that will make the decisions a little bit easier for you.
Yep, so true. And I want to kind of explore content, because I know that that's quite a passion for you.
Yeah.
Content marketing and, content marketing campaigns.
Yep.
And, we mentioned that marketing is such an important factor to the growth of a recruitment business and for the success of building a brand these days. Yep. In any industry. So I want to chat a bit about what your thoughts are on content and, what you've learned over the years and what you think are suitable for people these days.
Yeah, a great question. So the first thing to say is it's not just about throwing anything out there. You'll hear people say, just get started, just write something, just do something. The industry, the world we live in at the moment has so much content, and a lot of it's just rehashed from somewhere else and somewhere else and somewhere else. And we all know, we look at our inboxes and we see our social feeds and we go, I've seen that 100 times. So the first rule about content is, well, the first thing is it's absolutely important and critical to a growing business. No question. That's proven. That's just not me saying that. The numbers are in. The second thing is you cannot do Me Too content. We used to be able to do that a few years ago, but now because there is so much content, you must absolutely make your content relevant to your audience and make them think, oh my God, he or she is talking to me. Best way to do that in our industry is with mostly, it doesn't always have to be that way, but with educational content. So partnering with people in the market, talking about the things that are really important to them. And that helps elevate you as somebody with credibility and some standing in the market as well. And you get that sort of transference of trust from other people. So that is absolutely critical to be doing. The other thing with content is, I was saying before, the whole marketing piece is an ecosystem. It's not just, for example, if you just put, and I hear this a lot, people go, I've just tried this and I've tried that, and they'll
post up on LinkedIn a couple of times a week and that's it. Yeah, or a couple of blogs up or a couple of articles and see you later.
Well, exactly. And so then what happens is somebody will put a blog up on their website, and then I'll sort of say to them, okay, so where's the traffic coming from to read that blog? I don't know. And how are you catching those people once they're on your blog? How are you getting them into your database so that you can email them for nothing every week? And they don't know. And that sort of comes back to my point before is, if this is recruiters running businesses, and hats off to them, they're working really hard to try and do everything. And if you don't, so sales is much more linear, you can pick up the phone, you make a call, but marketing is a whole lot of little points that must all be strung together really well. So the other point around content marketing is to realize that it is an ecosystem. So if you are doing content marketing, what comes before it, what comes after it, to make sure that it all works. And we know now that the people that come to your business now have 75% made up their mind whether they want to work with you or not. It's just the final tick of approval when they speak. Exactly. So that, and then if you ask people, well, how much attention are you spending on that market out there? How much of your time versus once they've already come to you?
I think it's fascinating because, and I'm very passionate about marketing because I think it's, I've always been interested in human interaction and observing how people think and psychology, but, sales is much more tangible, whereas marketing is very intangible. You don't know when you'll see a return. You don't know what you should be doing, but if you do something for long enough, things happen.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. So I think it's really important to think about the whole journey in that marketing plan for the person that you're trying to target. You might have a great piece of content, but if they go to your website and your website looks terrible, it's good night.
Yeah, I think the other thing to say too is you don't have to do everything and be everything to everybody. You're better off having just one or two channels and doing it really well and then adding it in. People have to be on Instagram, have to be on Twitter, have to be on Snapchat, have to be writing blogs and here and there and everywhere. That's impossible. Where are your market? What are they reading? What are their pain points? Speak to that where they are and then go from there. And then always be thinking, okay, well, what's my call to action? How did they get here? So, if it's a blog, well, how do I get traffic to my blog? And then you kind of start thinking about SEO and different things instead of I just have to be everywhere because, sure, you want to be
omnipresent, but
that's the word. I was going to say agnostic. I'm like, that's not. You want to be omnipresent. Thank you. But not at the expense of filling jobs, running a business, doing the 26,000 other things that you need to do. Go where they are, keep it simple and consistent and quality. Because that's the other thing, people give up. They go, I wrote 3 blogs and nobody turned up, so I'm out now.
Agree. And I mean, and for me, I love marketing, but I think LinkedIn is a great platform and a great place for recruiters because I think it just makes so much sense. If you can build a really great community on LinkedIn, and you're constantly adding people and nurturing that community with great content, it's an incredible platform as opposed to maybe Facebook or Instagram or other things. But, again, it depends on where your target market is, depends on the sector you're working in. But I agree, you don't have to be on every platform. Choose the one that you think is going to give you the biggest return for your target market.
Yeah, and follow one thing smart to do as well is to follow the people. There's plenty of LinkedIn experts out there. I know that you had Karen on recently. Adam Houlihan's another one. Follow these guys because they will do webinars and different things that will. LinkedIn are bringing in lots of new features. Often. So you can watch those and find out what you really do. Like newsletters is a new one. Then they've got that funky little tool now where you can put your video on your profile. I haven't done it yet, but you can do that. All those sorts of little things, sending messages on instead of just sending a text message, send actually a voice message to people. There's lots of little things that you can do on there and to keep, it's hard to keep abreast of it. So if you're kind of following these guys once a quarter or so when they're putting out these updates, that's a really good thing to do.
Agree. Yeah, great. Always great to follow other people and get ideas, learning from some of the best in the industry. And that really gives you inspiration and creativity to implement in your own business and your own journey.
100%. And at some point, the challenge, the other things, Darren, that often people do is they go, I'll outsource my marketing, and they're small businesses. And the challenge for the marketing agencies is the way their models work is it's very hard for them to create affordable marketing for very small businesses because it's almost the same cost as if you were a 20 or 30 person business. It's not impossible, and there are some functionalities that can be done. But my view on it is it's not that complicated for a recruitment business to start with. Learn a little bit yourself, get it working, and then start to go from there. Don't sort of go and spend $5,000 a month on marketing when you're not really sure why you're doing it or who what channels you'd be doing and you're the expert in recruitment. So it's not a black and white, but my advice is you don't have to go too big and go too far down that path. You can often do it in-house yourself to start with.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree. I mean, I would assume that, nobody's going to tell your story better than you. And to outsource that to an agency is going to be tricky. And coupled with the fact that, we mentioned before, the recruitment industry is really moving towards that marketing piece of the puzzle. Yeah. Building brand and being authentic and building personal brand around your agency, even if it's a larger agency, you can still have personal brands within it.
Yep.
I think that's such a great opportunity for people to make content themselves.
Yeah, that's right. And just a trick that's a takeaway for people is because one of the things that people worry about is what the hell am I going to write about, and so there's a whole kind of training behind this, but to sort of hear this, if you can go to your market and speak to the people that are senior in your market and really understand what their challenges are, not just around recruitment, but, say it's the IT industry and, the challenge might be, if it's in some sort of hardware type thing, it might be getting product at the moment because of the world that we live in. So having expert conversations with people around that to try and look for ways to work around that or work with the market, then you don't have to think about the content. You go to the market who's got the problem. You talk to people who are thought leaders in your space or have got ideas on that and create the content that way. And that is a very, very powerful way to create content because it puts you front and center as well around the people that you're wanting to be associated with, as opposed to sitting there on a Friday afternoon with a glass of red wine going, what the hell am I going to write about?
Exactly. And in your experience, are any forms of content much more powerful than others, or it really depends on your ability and your, how much you lean towards one type of piece of content or your talent in terms of content?
I don't think there's any one, and it really depends on what you're trying to do. So what I always say to people is do what sits with you first. Like if you absolutely freeze and cannot do video, well, can you do audio? Or, are you a great writer? Can you do blogs? Because often you've got tech that can turn things into video. So there's a product called Lumen 5 that'll take a blog and it'll actually turn that into a video for you. So you can get around things that way. So I think first and foremost, do what's comfortable to you and then look to the tech to change it. That's one thing. Yeah. The other thing is it's much more important about what's in it than how it's delivered. Yeah. And then thinking about what I was saying before about email marketing, if you've got content that will drive people back to your database and the house that you own, not the rented land of LinkedIn and Facebook and everywhere else that can change the rules overnight. Yep. So if you've got call to actions that pull people into your database, so i.e. getting your email, that's gold. I think podcasts like you're doing are brilliant just to build continued relationships and engage your audience over time. I don't think it's as easy with podcasts to drive people to your personal database, but people love them. They're easily accessible. We're all time poor. You can listen to a podcast on a run. If you're watching a video on a run on the road, you might be in trouble. And I often hear people say to me, Belinda, people won't watch a 45-minute webinar. I promise you, if the content's good, they will watch it.
Absolutely, I agree. And they'll find a way. They'll find a way to consume it. If it's while they're cooking or while they're doing something else, they'll find a way to consume that content if they really want to hear about it.
That's it. That's exactly right.
Awesome. So, obviously content is a huge factor to building a brand and building your recruitment business. We've spoken about systems and automation.
Yep.
What other factors do you think are really important to consider when you're trying to build and scale a recruitment business or just become more successful?
Yeah, I think the first thing, this is going to sound a bit random, but it's mindset, because I think often we play second fiddle as recruiters. We all hear that, you're a recruiter or you're like a used car salesman. And I think the market's getting better, but this is a almost 550 billion US market. We're doing something right. And I think when recruitment, and especially owners of small businesses who can sometimes feel a little bit, as a bit of an underdog to the big guys, that's so not right, because they offer so much value. So first it's understanding that value and then really working with clients that appreciate that value. I think that's the absolute first thing, because, as you think it will be, or however that saying goes, is so true. And being strategic and thinking about where you want to go. Again, I speak to a lot of people and I'll say, where do you want to be in 12 months? And they don't know. So if you don't know where you want to get to, then how do you build a plan to get there? So it's knowing where you want to get to and then coming back to today and going, well, what is it that I need to do this quarter, next quarter, next quarter? The problem is when you put a goal, like a line in the sand for a goal, what comes up and hits you first is what's going to get in the way of that goal. And I think often, especially if your mindset's a little bit flat or you're overwhelmed, you're working really hard, you can kind of go, I want to double, triple my business, but all I see is You know, I
Good
haven't got
box.
enough time to
Yes.
find candidates.
Yeah.
So instead of looking at that as a problem and going, I haven't got enough candidates, how do you then treat that as a signpost? It's basically going, okay, well, this is just a signpost. Once we fix this problem, then we get to the next one till we get to your goal. So the signpost can then become, what are 3 new strategies I can try to get new candidates? Very different way of looking at things. So looking at those bottlenecks along the way as just building blocks to your business, because I think it's very easy to get stopped by those things. And, you know, that whole conversation, there are no candidates, it's just not right. There are candidates.
Yeah.
There's people moving every day. It's just that the strategy that you have in your business right now isn't getting them from A to B. And so it's unpacking that, getting support and training. I think there's I wish there were the resources when I started my business that are out there now. There are so many people to train you to get there. It's ask for help. What did the people before you do to get there? What can they teach you? I still have mentors and coaches. Like I think it's just so important. So they're probably the things that come up, but you definitely do also need to think about what, like you mentioned before, Darren, is structure, systems and frameworks. And, you know, what do you want? Do you want a lifestyle business? Do you want a business that you can sell? Do you want to be the next Hayes?
Yeah.
So whatever you want your outcome to be is going to affect what you do today. It's not to say it can't change and be tweaked, but if you want to create a lifestyle business to hang out more with your kids and work 30 hours a week, what you do today looks very different than if you want to build the next Hayes.
Definitely, 100%. And one thing I've learned, just like in any business, in any industry, the recruitment industry has changed so much and continues to change so rapidly when you think about it. Like the way we work now is so different to how we worked 20 years ago.
Oh, 100%.
Oh my God. When I first started, we used to send faxes.
Yeah.
That was when we started. We had one fax machine in the middle of the room and 5 or 6 consultants would fight for that fax. And then we did courier, and look at how we're working now.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? It's very different. I remember going in my
it's crazy.
And there was like a whole room full of printed out CVs, and they had these
CVs on your desk like this, pile of CVs on your desk.
Yeah, but it's all different. But what I think is lovely is for the smaller businesses, the playing field is leveling.
Yeah,
because
I agree.
Because you can afford to do things now you just couldn't afford to do back then. You know, look at what we're doing right now. This was, you can do this.
Absolutely. And for smaller businesses, sometimes it gives you that point of difference. It gives you that advantage because you can be agile, you can be unique, you can be very authentic, and it can really work to your advantage in business and to build credibility and build respect and a community.
Actually, that's a really good point too. And I was just thinking about that before you said that word, is that community is really important because there is so much out there and available. It's great to be tapped into a community that you can say, I'm getting a new database. What should I use? Or I'm looking for this piece of tech to do that. Because in a community of like-minded people, there will be other people that you can
so true.
Their brains and accountability. I often get the guys coming to me going, well, I'm just not accountable. I just can't do what I want. I need someone to hold me to account. So that's another good thing as well. And there's plenty of people out there who feel that way. So there's obviously plenty of people out there prepared to, I've got, people that are working with me that will just hook up with other people from, different states, whatever, just on the phone, have a sort of a virtual coffee every week and keep each other on point, which is good.
Absolutely. And do you miss working in the business, in recruitment?
No, I don't. And the only reason I say that is because I just love I love what I'm doing now. I think if I don't know, if I was doing something I didn't like now, I probably would. But for me, it was always about growing the business and seeing what was possible than it was about putting people in jobs. And that's why I work with agency owners, not with consultants, because that's much more where my
that's your sweet spot. That's where your passion is. That's where your focus was. Yep.
Yeah.
Love it. So tell us a bit more about Recruitment Garage. Tell us how you work. How can people work with you? What are the best ways? How they can find you? I'd love to hear a bit more about that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so we're about 4 years old now. Sitting up here in the sunny coast, doing it all from up here.
Lovely. Good life.
Yeah, no, it's good. Essentially what I do though is I help small agencies who owners who've got to a point, and it's normally they've got to this point where they go, I've done really well, but what I'm doing isn't just taking me to that next level that I go to. I've tried a few things, it's not quite working. Passionate, committed, just can't make it happen. So I work with them to help them get to that next level, whatever that looks like for them. So whether it's the lifestyle business or it's heading towards Hayes, or, not heading to them, but their business heading towards Hayes. And I do that across the globe. So we've got people in the States, in Canada, UK, and we just follow a very simple 5-step system, take them through, work on various projects that we know will need to be in place to have that happen for them.
And you do that in one-on-one, in webinars, what style of coaching?
I have a masterclass which has had really good feedback, and that people can just watch that and not even have to talk to me again and get some really good value from it. And that just sort of shows people our process and the way we go about things. So they can certainly watch that, and I can certainly give you the link for that if you like, but they can watch that. And then from there, we have a group program. I used to do one-on-one coaching, but I found that the group element's lovely because you get that whole collaboration and you've got people moving through, and the people that are a bit further along will kind of help with the people that are just starting. It just fits better with the way that I do things. So no, I don't coach people individually. It's more it's a very clear process. Every business is different, but the structure within it is the milestones that they need to hit and the projects they need to build in their business are the same. They just might look a little bit different depending on what you have in your business to start with.
Yeah, and obviously you will work with any recruitment industry business, doesn't matter what the niche is.
Now there is my word agnostic. It will fit in there.
Love it.
So it's industry agnostic. As long as I can speak their language and they have a small recruitment agency or whatever they call it, search, different countries call it different things, we can help them get to where they want to go.
Yeah. And it's actually quite interesting because around the world, there are little nuances in the recruitment industry, but the function of recruitment is exactly the same. Yeah. It doesn't matter where you are, the actual day-to-day is the same.
When I say to people, what are your problems? They go, I'm in the weeds. I can't get out of the weeds. Yeah. I'm so busy. I'm tired. I never get to work on the business. Haven't got enough hours in the day. And then there's either we need more candidates, we need more clients.
Yep.
It's never specific to Tennessee or to,
yep. It's always the same 5 or 6 complaints.
Exactly.
Fantastic. And so if people want to find you, just your website and LinkedIn.
Yeah, sure. So the website is recruitmentgarage.com. They can just look for me, Belinda Kerr, on LinkedIn. And always happy to answer questions, connecting with people, just connecting with me on LinkedIn.
Beautiful. Sure. And I'll make sure I put all the details in the show notes for everybody so you can find Belinda and link to anything that she's offering. But Belinda, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. Really, really nice to understand your journey and learn from your experience growing and selling to recruitment businesses, and now coaching and teaching recruiters how to be successful and scale their business. So really appreciate you coming on the show. I've learned a lot myself and I hope my audience has as well. So really appreciate that.
It's very kind of you to invite me, and
thank you.
Looking forward to next time.
Awesome. And I always like to give my guests the last word. Any last words or thoughts for the recruitment industry out there?
I just think, know your value, own your value, and operate from that place, and you'll be fine.
I love it. Yep, so true. Authenticity, and in also doing it according to your why.
Yes.
Why are you doing what you're doing?
100%.
Yep, I love it. Well done. Well, Belinda, thank you so much for coming on the show. Everybody have a fantastic day, and feel free to get in touch with Belinda and find out more about what she does.
Terrific.
Thanks for everybody for listening, and we'll see you very, very soon for another episode of Soul Searching, the Soul Recruitment Podcast. Bye for now. Thanks again for joining me for another episode of Soul Searching, the Soul Recruitment Podcast. If you'd like to join me as a guest on the show, I would be delighted to collaborate. Feel free to buzz me on 0414 659 800 or email me on darren@soulrecruitment.com.au. I'm always on the lookout for great guests who can share their stories and expertise with my community. But for now, though, have a fantastic day, and I'll see you next time.